Thabang Rampa has recently been appointed as Manager Regulatory Affairs and Project Manager of the Milk SA Regulations and Standards Project at the Dairy Standard Agency, or DSA, and she joins us in studio today. Thabang, yes, welcome to our studio. It's lovely having you here for the first time.
Thank you very much for the invite. Yes, like you said, I'm Thabang Rampa. I've worked in the Department of Agriculture. I'm straight from there now, before my appointment.
Let's talk about your experience specifically in the food regulatory industry.
I have started working at the Department of Health. That's where I actually got the taste of food regulatory aspect of it, because I'm actually from the lab. I worked in a chemical laboratory before. That's where I come from. So now I have worked at the Department of Health, where I was responsible for regulation for contaminants, and there it also touched on limits, maximum limits for metals in milk. So that's where the bite for the love as well for regulatory actually came through. Then I went to the Department of Agriculture. There I was exposed to a number of regulation, and including dairy regulations as well, where I got to get an in-depth understanding of what regulations are all about, the drafting thereof, amending thereof, all the process of getting to publish a regulation in its entirety. Also there, because of what I have been doing, I got to have an in-depth understanding of the dairy regulations specifically, even though I was responsible for other regulations as well. On the dairy regulation, I got to be able to interpret the regulation and to get the implications of the provisions that form part of the regulation. So where I am now, I get to be able to give that technical, interpretation of the dairy regulation. This is actually what the experience I think will actually work very much in the DSA in my position currently.
Well, you must have a passion for it. I can just hear that. Where does this come from?
I'm a very methodical person. So, and I pay attention to details. So that's where the love of science, working in the laboratory, came to. But then I saw the need to diversify my career, and that's where I got to a point of wanting food science to meet a law. So that's where I am now. After everything, I get to get regulations, which is actually food law in essence. So the passion that I got was for my passion to want to diversify my career.
Now, if we talk about food safety in South Africa, and this has been in the news for quite a few months in South Africa, yes, what are some of the key factors that hamper food safety in South Africa?
Food safety is a responsibility for everyone within the dairy or the food chain in its entirety. So what happens is not only the maybe producers responsible for it, or maybe the consumers responsible for it. It's a responsibility for everyone. So if you have producers and processors that will flout all the regulation and not comply to them, it gives them that way, for regulation, for food safety not to be there, because the regulations are there to prescribe exactly what needs to actually form part of the processing, what needs to be complied with to ensure food safety. So if a food processor, a producer, a transporter actually flout those regulations, that's where your food safety gap is actually open there. Then you get to a fact that there should be enforcement of those regulations. For them to be enforced as well, it makes sure that even if there was a gap and something actually slipped through the cracks or because of the non-compliance, when you get to now the enforcement, they'll be able to clamp down on such, a non-compliance that might be there. But because we have little to no capacity for enforcement of regulation, that's also one problem that actually does affect food safety in our country, I think. So, but also when you get to a food that maybe leaves the processing plant, it's been transported, when it gets to retail, also as a consumer, you also need to have that basic hygiene knowledge, to be able to handle your food, so that you actually do make sure that your food is not compromised, and you don't get all those food poisoning and all of that. Yes.
What do you hope to achieve in the dairy industry and more specifically at DSA?
I'd love to grow my career and to get the in-depth knowledge of the dairy food chain, value chain, and get to understand, have a knowledge from a cow right through to that milk that you find in the retail shelves.
Well, good luck with that. I'm sure you'll be in studio again soon to talk about what you are busy doing there at the DSA, and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to come back again. Right. Thank you.
That is Thabang Rampa, that was recently appointed as Manager Regulatory Affairs and Project Manager of the Milk SA Regulations and Standard Project at the DSA.